Well, I think that's terrific and builds off what Jack was saying earlier, which is sort of inspiring for all of us, is let's just move ahead. I don't think it helps any of us to keep looking backward. So just getting specific for a moment, your agencies in general, your own agencies, are either experimenting a bit with producing, quote, branded content or content to some degree, or you're at the very least, I'm sure, being asked in various aspects of your agencies to evaluate content and different opportunities that are being brought to you, whether through media owners or production companies or creative agencies in general. Let's just talk a bit specifically about some of your talent investments or recomposing of some of your talent so that you've got, I imagine, more folks inside year by year that are more qualified to make those sort of softer decisions.
I mean, as we came from the old-fashioned media ages, first we had to learn to lead the strategy, and then we had to learn to come up with content ideas. And for example, in Groupe M, we have Peter Tortorici, whom you know, running our Groupe M content unit. So we are investing in professionals coming from the production side, from the media side, and not just training our own people, because we don't have the time to train all these people. So therefore, we have to invest in pros coming really from the content side.
I'm rather going to build on what Jack Klues was saying about the leadership that we've had through Maurice Levy at Publicis. I think rather like some of the other groups, notably I think WPP, he sees very much media being the driver of the businesses globally, and has allowed us to make ambitious acquisitions in the search space, in analytics, in data, specifically from a Zenith Optimedia position. We were able to acquire a couple of years ago a leading digital full-service agency called Moxie, which has allowed us to generate some of the fantastic work that we've seen yesterday. But I think, as we've heard over the last couple of days, just having these skill sets is not in itself a panacea or solution. We have the same challenges as everybody else about working out how to build collaborative, integrated solutions. And whether we're trying to do that with our creative partners, whether we're trying to do it in-house, or whether we're trying to do it with an acquired unit, this becomes, I think, our biggest challenge. If I was asked what our biggest challenge is as a media network, it's about using these services and building integrated collaborative solutions for clients.
I'd like to take a lead off of that and talk about, I think, one of the pressing issues in the content development area. And as you said, Alex, you've got Peter Tortorici running Groupe M Entertainment, and within Publicis, Brien Turkelson with Connective Tissue, and Laura Caracchiola-Davis at Starcom, also focused on content development within the media agency structure. Two things. First of all, the content that's being created, the issue around the IP, the issue around who owns that content. It's pretty standard in the industry. On the other side, work for hire rules, but in the content side, on the media agencies, how are you dealing with that from a standpoint of your clients and the potential? Some of these ideas that you're launching in different platforms may find life in platforms beyond what your initial ideas were, and how's that being dealt with? Stephen, Alex, whichever.
I think, we talked about rules, and we saw one of the presenters yesterday sort of very neatly being able to sort of describe sort of 8 rules of engagement. And I think, as all of us know, in this digital landscape, there just aren't the rules now that exist, and those nice, comfortable guidelines that we're able to use. And I think we're working in an environment where it's a complete democratization of media. And you've seen here that's changed music, it's filmed entertainment, and now broadcast. And consumers are now going to expect to get content when they want, where they want, in different places, through different platforms, through television, through their laptops, through PCs, and through mobile. And they are also, I think, many of the consumers are also going to be expecting a different way of paying for that content. Advertising, embedding in programming, I think, is going to be viewed very differently by consumers, as is brand-funded content. And I think these are areas which are going to grow. But I think to be able to sort of answer the question, here are some neat guidelines, I don't think that's going to be possible. I think this democratization of content is going to grow, and I don't think anything we can do sitting on panels is going to change that.
But if I might, when a media agency takes a risk, when a media agency is prepared to put up their own capital to create content, shouldn't they be allowed, and I'm asking this sort of in a odd structure, but shouldn't they be allowed to enjoy the benefits of that risk in creating content alongside the client if it's appropriate? Whereas if it's work for hire, again, old rules don't apply, but if it's work for hire, that's what you're paid to do. As a lawyer, I look back and say, if I'm paid to do something, the client owns it. But if I'm willing to make my own investment, I should be able to enjoy the fruits of that investment.
I guess you're touching a key point of the change of the media agency business. There is no law around the globe that media agencies shouldn't own the IP. In some cases they will, in others they won't. But of course we are moving from a purely service-driven business to a transactional and even participating business. In the old days we put our clients' money on the best TV shows. Now we may put our own money into the best program development. And then, of course, we own the IP and we share it with our clients. And let's be frank, this will be a substantial change in all our business, no doubt.
I think this is a good time to let's see if we can get some audience participation. We do have a question prepared for panel 2, and it touches on this very issue. And I think, harkening back to one of Chuck Porter's comments yesterday, Chuck said very clearly, he said, you know what, we cannot consider ourselves anymore in a service business entirely. We're in an idea business. Now, we're up here in our own sort of parochial view, in the media view, talking about this subject. But I would say all those along the value chain, from marketers to creative agencies to media agencies to consumers, are all discussing to some degree about whether they in their own right can be content producers, branded content experts. And I think everyone is going to be looking to have a stake in ownership of some of this content that's created. So if we do have that audience question for panel 2, who along the value chain might have the best opportunity to, alongside media owners in the conventional sense, who's the best chance of consistently achieving ownership? So let's take a vote if we could, and let's continue the conversation around this very point. Okay, yeah, so that's very interesting, kind of a broad split, but I think we would agree with that because media agencies in general, are stewarding the large investments and are right now really at that right-hand seat of the table. So this clearly is a harbinger of really, I think, tremendous opportunity ahead. So given that, I guess the question off is what inside, again, your organizations are you doing to accelerate these opportunities and these opportunities to own and produce the content?
I guess, as I said, we hire people from outside the classical media agency business. We try to hire very young guys and train them not in strategy, in content development. Is it 100% of our business today? No, it's not, but it's growing. And I guess all the media agencies, all our competitors have the same. They may have 5-10% of those content people, and we need much more. Because there's one phenomenon. If you look at the last 10 years, the number of pipes exploded like developing 1,000 times. The volume of great content is in best stable. I mean, the movie industry has its creative crisis. The music industry is kind of dead. So we are having much more bottles, but less wine. Therefore, if our industry wants to survive, we have to promote creative talent. And by the way, one vehicle can be something like YouTube, because everybody who feels to be creative can show up and we can pick people. This talent question in creativity, not just in our strategy, in the content, will be key for our development. And yes, then we want to own the IP at least partly.
I think from our perspective, we are like all of the media networks. We are trying to expand our skill set into creative, into talent. But I would sort of give a word of caution, as someone said yesterday. You're not suddenly going to become a creative-inspired agency by suddenly hiring a creative director and sitting him in a corner, just as a creative agency isn't suddenly going to become a full-service solution provider by putting a media planner in the corner of their office. And certainly from our perspective, there's one direction we've tried to do is to access much more the media owners. I don't feel entirely comfortable directing and leading creative producers, as an example, so we find it best to partner from a third party perspective. And I think the media owners are excellent gatekeepers to both the consumers and creative content. And I look at some of the most inspiring stuff that we've done, and that's been done collaboratively between a creative agency, between ourselves, but also with the media agency. And with the media owners. And that's a trend I'm sure we're going to see more of. They've got far deeper pockets than us in terms of being able to invest in terms of intellectual property.
Terrific.
Stephen, Alexander, thank you very much.
Thank you.